country music fans across the world woke up to heartbreaking news when Jeannie Seely, one of the most iconic voices of the Grand Ole Opry, passed away at the age of 85. Known as Miss Country Soul, Jeannie was more than just a singer. She was a pioneer, a mentor, and a living piece of country music history. Her death left many in shock, not only because of the suddenness, but also because of how quietly it was announced. For over 5 decades, Jeannie had been a steady presence on stage, her voice filling the Opry house and her wit lighting up the room. Losing her was like losing a piece of the Opry itself, and for her fans, the pain felt deeply personal. What made her final days even more emotional were the small details: her last performance, her hidden health struggles, and the way her funeral played out in a way no one expected. The tributes that followed revealed just how deeply she had touched the world of country music, and who chose to show up to say goodbye left fans stunned. To understand why Jeannie Seely's death hurt so many, you first have to understand the woman behind the legend. Born in Titusville, Pennsylvania in 1940, Jeannie grew up surrounded by the sounds of traditional country music. From a young age, she dreamed of standing on the big stage, but her fire and ambition refused to let her remain just a small-town girl. By her early 20s, she packed her bags and moved to Nashville, chasing the dream that so many others tried for, but only a few ever caught. Jeannie was different. She had a voice full of emotion, lyrics that cut deep, and a presence that could not be ignored. In 1966, she had her breakout hit with "Don't Touch Me," a song that not only defined her career, but also reshaped the way women were seen in country music. At a time when female singers were often sidelined, Jeannie's boldness stood out. She became known for her honesty, her quick humor, her signature blonde hair, and her ability to sing straight from the heart. By 1967, she was inducted into the Grand Ole Opry, becoming one of the youngest women to ever hold that honor, and from there, she became a cornerstone of country music for the next 55 years. Jeannie Seely's career was not just about making music. It was about changing the industry itself. She wasn't afraid to speak her mind, even when it upset the old traditions of the Opry. She became the first woman to regularly host Opry segments, breaking down barriers that had stood for decades. Her work behind the scenes was just as important as the songs she sang. Jeannie pushed for gender equality, encouraged younger artists, and reminded the industry that women's voices mattered both on stage and backstage. Over the years, she collaborated with legends like Willie Nelson and Bill Anderson while also mentoring rising stars. She wasn't just a performer. She was a guide, a leader, and a protector of tradition. Fans loved her not only for her music but also for her fire, her sense of humor, and her boldness in a male-dominated industry. Even in her later years, she was known to light up the stage in dazzling gowns, always performing with elegance and strength. To the Opry, she wasn't just another singer, she was its foundation. To her fans, she felt like family. And to young women in country music, she was proof that you could be strong, fearless, and successful without ever giving up your true self. But behind the strong presence and bright smile, Jeannie was facing battles that few ever realized. In the final year of her life, fans started to notice small changes. Her Opry appearances, once regular and full of energy, began to slow down. Her voice was still beautiful, but not quite as strong as before. Her once bubbly banter between songs became softer, and her schedule started to thin out. Fans who had followed her for decades noticed that something was different. In April, during her final public performance at the Opry, she stepped on stage in a shimmering blue gown and sang, "Can I Sleep in Your Arms Tonight?" It was an emotional performance, her voice cracking not from weakness but from pure feeling. When she finished, she didn't leave the stage quickly as she usually did. Instead, she stood there, soaking in the love from the audience. Many now believe that this was her way of quietly saying goodbye. Though her team never officially confirmed her illness, close friends hinted that she had been struggling with long-term respiratory problems, possibly COPD. Still, Jeannie refused to let her health define her. As songwriter Bill Anderson said, she wanted people to remember her singing, not sick in a hospital bed. On July 22, 2025, the world received the heartbreaking news. Jeannie Seely had passed away peacefully in her Nashville home, surrounded by her loved ones. The announcement came through a simple press release from her publicist, and many fans felt the news was too quiet for a woman who gave her life to music. Even more surprising was the initial silence from the Grand Ole Opry, the stage she had graced for over 5 decades. For nearly 12 hours, the Opry made no public statement, and her name was still listed on the upcoming performers' schedule on their official website. Fans expressed frustration and sadness online, wondering why the Opry wasn't honoring her immediately. Eventually, the Opry released a heartfelt message, calling her the heart and humor of the Opry family, but many felt the tribute came too late. Whispers began to spread about whether there had been behind-the-scenes disagreements, but nothing was ever confirmed. What was certain, however, was that Jeannie's passing left a hole in the Opry that could never truly be filled. She had been more than a performer. She had been its spirit. Just days later, the Opry did what it does best. It turned music into memory. During a special performance, the stage went dark except for a single spotlight on the iconic wooden circle where Jeannie had stood so many times before. A string quartet began playing her most famous song, Don't Touch Me. And then, in the silence, a recording of Jeannie's own voice filled the room. When you feel like crying, sing. When you're scared, sing louder. The audience stood, many with tears streaming down their faces. For those in attendance, it was one of the most emotional Opry moments of the decade. Then came an unexpected guest, Reba McEntire, dressed in black. Reba walked on stage and performed an acoustic version of Can I Sleep in Your Arms Tonight? The performance was raw, filled with grief and love. Afterward, Reba simply said, She raised us. She raised this stage, and tonight we sing for her. The tribute wasn't flashy, but it was powerful. And for many fans, it felt like the goodbye Jeannie deserved, while the Opry tribute was moving. What happened at Jeannie's private funeral stunned fans even more. The service was held at the historic Ryman Auditorium, known as the Mother Church of Country Music, where Jeannie had performed countless times. True to her style, Jeannie didn't want a traditional service. There was no casket, no black suits, and no heavy formality. Instead, guests were told to come wearing boots, rhinestones, and outfits full of life. Just as Jeannie would have wanted, the atmosphere was filled with laughter, tears, and music. Dolly Parton, unable to attend due to her own health struggles, sent a recorded message. Jeannie wasn't just my sister in song. She was my truth teller, my partner in sass, and my voice of reason in a crazy business. I'll see you again, darling. And we'll pick it up right where we left off. Another surprise came when Loretta Lynn's family revealed that Jeannie had been one of Loretta's final visitors before her own passing in 2022. The two women had made a pact to hold the door open for future generations of female country singers, and those words were printed on the funeral program. Hold the door open. Jeannie Seely, 1940-2025. Jeannie Seely's passing may have left fans heartbroken, but her legacy will never fade. For more than 55 years, she was a pillar of the Grand Ole Opry and a champion for women in country music. Her songs touched millions, her humor kept spirits alive backstage, and her fearlessness inspired younger artists to never give up. She was proof that you could be bold, honest, and true to yourself while still commanding respect in an industry that wasn't always welcoming. Her final months showed her strength. Her funeral showed her spirit, and her life showed her love for music. Even though she is gone, her voice will continue to echo through the halls of the Opry, in the hearts of her fans, and in the voices of every woman who dares to stand on stage and sing her truth. As country music moves forward, Jeannie Seely's message remains clear. When life gets hard, keep singing. That was her gift to the world, and it will never be forgotten. One of the greatest parts of Jeannie Seely's legacy is the way she lifted up new talent. Even in her later years, when she could have stepped back and enjoyed her own success, she chose to mentor and guide younger artists. Many country singers who rose to fame in the last 20 years credit Jeannie for helping them believe in themselves when the industry made them feel small. She often said that she wanted the stage to be open for everyone, not just the stars who were already established. Stories came out after her passing of how she would spend hours backstage encouraging newcomers, offering advice on how to handle rejection, and reminding them that being authentic mattered more than following trends. Female singers in particular looked up to her because she had lived through times when women were pushed aside or not given equal respect in country music. Yet Jeannie had fought back with determination, proving that women could headline shows, write meaningful songs, and command respect. Her influence was not about fame alone. It was about helping others rise. That spirit of generosity is one of the reasons fans say her loss feels so personal. She wasn't only singing for herself, she was singing for every woman who wanted her voice to be heard. The days following Jeannie Seely's death showed just how far her impact had reached. Social media became filled with tributes, memories, and videos of her performances. Fans shared stories of meeting her at shows, where she always took the time to talk, sign autographs, and make people feel special. Unlike some celebrities who kept their distance, Jeannie always treated her fans like friends. Country music stations across America played her hits on repeat, while Nashville landmarks lit up in her honor. Beyond the United States, fans from Europe and Asia, where country music has a passionate following, also posted emotional messages. Younger artists released statements, calling her a door opener and true original. The Country Music Hall of Fame hosted a memorial wall where fans could leave flowers, cards, and personal messages. Even those who had never met her felt like they knew her through her songs and her personality. The most common phrase repeated was that Jeannie was authentic. She never pretended to be something she wasn't. That realness, combined with her voice and humor, made her beloved by all generations. In the end, Jeannie Seely's passing wasn't just about losing a country legend. It was about losing a friend, a mentor, and a symbol of country music's heart. Her life reminded people why the genre has always been more than just songs. It's about truth, community, and emotion. Jeannie Seely's story is more than just the timeline of a country singer's career. It is the journey of a woman who faced obstacles, broke barriers, and left behind a legacy that will live on for decades to come. From her small-town roots in Pennsylvania to the spotlight of the Grand Ole Opry, she never forgot who she was or where she came from. She loved deeply, sang truthfully, and gave everything she had to the music. Her funeral may have closed the final chapter of her physical life, but her influence continues through the voices she inspired, the traditions she protected, and the love she left behind. For fans, Jeannie Seely will forever remain Miss Country Soul, the woman who showed the world that when life gets hard, the best thing to do is sing. And as long as her songs are played, her memory will never truly fade.